5 seconds to go. Start. Thereafter, no further extension of service was granted by the appellant bank. As such, the respondent's service in the appellant bank had ceased with effect from 1st October 2010. Though appellant bank had issued notice dated 18th August 2009 to the respondent alleging irregularities and had suspended him from service on 21st August 2009, departmental proceeding was initiated against the respondent in terms of Rule 68(1) of the Service Rules only on 18th March 2011 when the charge memo was issued, which was clearly after 1st October 2010. The factum of the respondent participating in the departmental proceeding or stating that he was due to superannuate on 30th October 2012 would be of no consequence. Further, payment of subsistence allowance by the appellant bank and acceptance of the same by the respondent would also not lead to extension of service of the respondent post 1st October 2010. Learned Senior Counsel for the respondent therefore submits that the order of penalty imposed by the appellant bank on the respondent is clearly void ab initio and the High Court had rightly interfered with the same. In support of his submissions, he has placed reliance on the following decisions: UCO Bank versus Rajinder Lal Kapoor and UCO Bank versus MB Motwani. Submissions made by learned counsel for the parties have received the due consideration of the court. Having heard learned counsel for the parties and upon perusal of the materials on record, we may briefly refer to the relevant provisions of the statutes governing the service condition of the respondent. In exercise of the powers conferred by subsection 1 of section 43 of the State Bank of India Act 1955, the Central Board of the State Bank of India has made the State Bank of India officers determination of terms and conditions of Service Order 1979, briefly the Service Order hereinafter, to determine certain terms and conditions of appointment and service of officers in the State Bank of India SBI. Order 19 thereof deals with the age of retirement. Clause 1 of Order 19 says that an officer shall retire from the service of SBI on attaining the age of 58 years or upon the completion of 30 years service or 30 years pensionable service if he is a member of the pension fund, whichever occurs first. Thus, as per clause 1 of Order 19 of the Service Order, an officer of SBI shall retire from the service of the bank on the happening of three contingencies, whichever occurs first. The three contingencies are on attaining the age of 58 years, or upon completion of 30 years of service, or completed 30 years of pensionable service if he is a member of the pension fund. Therefore, what this provision contemplates is that an officer of SBI shall retire from service on completion of any one of the three contingencies, whichever happens first. The first proviso confers a discretion upon the competent authority to extend the period of service of an officer who has either attained the age of 58 years or has completed 30 years of service or has completed 30 years of pensionable service if it is deemed that such extension is desirable in the interest of SBI. However, the extended period of service shall not be counted for the purpose of pension. As per clause 2 of Order 19, no officer of SBI who has ceased to be in the service of SBI by virtue of any of the contingencies provided for in clause 1 shall be deemed to have retired from the service of the said bank for the purpose of the pension and guarantee fund rules or the pension fund rules unless such cessation of service has been sanctioned on retirement for the purpose of either of the aforesaid two rules. Clause 3 of Order 19 makes it clear that in case disciplinary proceeding under the relevant rules of service has been initiated against an officer before he ceases to be in the service of SBI, the disciplinary proceeding may, at the discretion of the managing director, be continued after cessation of service and concluded by the authority which had initiated the same as if the officer continues in service. However, such an officer shall be deemed to be in service only for the purpose of continuance and conclusion of such proceeding. A conjoint reading of the three clauses of Order 19 would indicate that an officer of SBI shall retire from the service of the said bank on fulfillment of either of the three conditions. However, the competent authority has the discretion to extend the period of service of such an officer if such extension is deemed desirable in the interest of SBI, though the extended period of service will not be counted for the purpose of pension. Under Clause 2, no officer who has ceased to be in the service of SBI by virtue of the contingencies stipulated in Clause 1 shall be deemed to have retired from service for the purpose of the pension and guarantee fund rules or the pension fund rules unless such cessation of service has been sanctioned. Therefore, the sanctioning of cessation of service is only for the purpose of the aforesaid rules. Clause 3 contains the clarification that if disciplinary proceeding has been initiated against such an officer under the relevant service rules before he ceases to be in the service of SBI, the disciplinary proceeding may be continued and concluded by the authority which had initiated the same even post cessation of service of the officer. However, he shall be deemed to be in service only for the purpose of continuance and conclusion of such proceeding and not for any other purpose. Now let us turn to the State Bank of India Officers Service Rules 1992, already referred to as the Service Rules. Preamble to the Service Rules says that the said rules have been framed by the Central Board of the State Bank of India, exercising powers conferred by subsection 1 of section 43 of the State Bank of India Act 1955 to determine the terms and conditions of appointment and service of all officers in the State Bank of India. The service rules came into effect from 1st January 1992. Rule 2.1 says that the service rules shall apply to all officers of SBI who are appointed or promoted to any of the grades mentioned in Rule 4 and also to whom any of the rules mentioned thereunder are applicable. The rules include the State Bank of India officers' determination of terms and conditions of service order 1979, already referred to as the service order hereinbefore. Rule 19 deals with retirement. As per Rule 19.1, an officer shall retire from the service of SBI on attaining the age of 60 years or upon the completion of 30 years of service or 30 years of pensionable service if he is a member of the pension fund, whichever occurs first. The first proviso says that the competent authority may, for reasons to be recorded in writing, extend the period of service of an officer. Stop.